Chair calls the Greenwood Leflore Consolidated School District Board meeting to order. Could we please pause for a moment of silent prayer? Amen. Board members, if I can call your attention to the additions before we before I make a motion to amend the agenda. If I can get you all to look at the board additions, do y'all have that? So we have a MOU between Valley and Elsie in adding maintenance department to salary scale, approval of use of practice field, approval of virtual learning, and an invoice. So before I make the motion to amend the agenda, board members, do you all think we've had ample time, or do we just delete that and go for another time? And I might want to call your attention to board policy BC, board meeting agenda. And so if you want to look on your own, board policy BC, boy as in, B as in boy, C as in cat, B as in boy, D as in dog. Any discussion, board members, on the board addition?
Provided that we just received this information, we would need a little additional time.
Any other discussion, board members? All right, Chair would like to amend the agenda to add hiring freeze to .4. No, I take it back. 4.3. So after Mr. Ainsworth, 4.3, hiring freeze, and then everything else goes down. Chair will entertain a motion.
Madam President,
Yes, sir.
may we also add consideration for executive session?
Chair will entertain a motion also to add at 6.1, consideration of executive session. So again, Chair will entertain a motion to amend the agenda. It's been motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair will get a motion to approve the amended agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Been motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion is carried. Dr. Brown, before you do your superintendent's report, do you mind giving the board an update about the air in the schools and also the bus accident at Elgin?
Area in the schools, a maintenance department is working to make sure that all of the units that were purchased are going up in buildings. We don't have a large maintenance staff, so that does take time. Bus accident at Elsie, I need to get more information, but I was out when the bus accident occurred at Elsie. But it was, from my understanding, the district was not at fault.
Do you know if any students were hurt?
No, I don't know if any students were hurt. I know that someone ran into the bus and the district was not at fault, but I was out during that time, but I will receive an update the board.
Also, I just want to let the record show or call your attention to the board receiving late packs, adjusted packs, or additional information prior to our board meetings. I just want to call your attention again to board policy BCBD. Also, Dr. Brown, if you don't mind, the board would request again that we have monthly calendars so that we can meet all deadlines, meetings, and activities. Every board member missed the deadline this year for our economic interest statement. So if we were to...
I don't think that's accurate, Madam President.
You don't think it's accurate?
I think you need to speak with those persons that submit their report, because their report may not be reflective of the current board. If you recall, Ms. Flowers shared with us that information, and the deadline fell on a holiday or the weekend. So, but just for clarification, we might need to inquire about
Well,
that.
my understanding is that every board member...
I believe that was 2020,
Correct. So I don't.
so it wouldn't involve me.
Correct. And
Well, when I'm saying the board members who had to have it,
but I don't think it's reflective of this particular board, but I would stand corrected, but I would ask for clarification on that.
okay, but however, this board would like a monthly calendar so that we can meet all deadlines, meetings, and activities. Also, I would like to make an announcement that this board has been invited to the Board of Voters League on September 15th at 7 o'clock. This is not considered a board meeting for us. However, we will all not be in the room at the same time. We will take turns. And Dr. Brown, if you don't mind, could you adjust your schedule so that you can make it with us on that day? Again, that's September 15th at 7 o'clock p.m. Senator David Jordan has invited the board to come and speak. All right, Dr. Brown.
Okay. Board members, before I begin, I would like to say the board additions, with the exception of the practice, the MOU with MVSU and Amanda Elder High School was emailed to all board members on September 4th. I think the policy states to have it to you within 72 hours, so those were submitted on time. The MOU for MVSU and Amanda Elder we just received. Superintendent's report. For the month of August, there have been 26 positive student COVID-19 cases and 7 positive staff COVID-19 cases reported in the district. For the month of September, there have been 11 positive student COVID-19 cases and 0 positive staff COVID-19 cases reported in the district. The number of students, district student enrollment, the number of students registered as of today in the district is 3,767. The district still encourages parents to register their children for school. All students, whether attending in person or virtually, must be registered in school. Staff recognition. So far, 22 educators have been recognized by the Office of Academics to celebrate their hard work and efforts to reach goal number 1, to improve student achievement. Throughout the week, members of the curriculum team are providing support for teachers through professional development, classroom observation and feedback, providing instructional resources for teachers, and so on. When educators are observed doing well, their names and pictures are submitted along with a brief statement of why they were selected. Each week, there will be at least one person from each of the following areas selected: English language arts, math, science, social studies, grades K through 2, pre-K, and special education. To prevent having a limited selection, educators include teachers, counselors, assistant teachers, support staff, and anyone who plays a role in helping the district to achieve goal number 1. With so many great staff members, we believe that many and hopefully all will be selected at some point this year. The district was planning to offer the virtual instruction option to students pending board approval beginning Monday, September 13th of 2021. The number of students whose parents have selected the virtual instruction options for them is 743. The first annual Mr. and Miss GLCSD Showcase. The Greenwood Leflore Consolidated School District will hold its first annual Mr. and Miss Greenwood Leflore Consolidated School District at Greenwood High School on September 9th, 2021 at 6 o'clock p.m. Flyers were placed at our high schools and posts were made on social media to solicit students' participation. This showcase will support the district's vision statement, a community united to improve the quality of life through education. The pageant was open to all seniors throughout the district. There are 5 contestants total. Social distancing will be practiced along with mask wearing guidelines. Only 10 guests with an invitation per contestant will be allowed. There will be no fee charged. Judges will be judging the event. The Greenwood Leflore Consolidated School District's band programs. Mississippi Valley State University is offering our students the opportunity to collaborate with them to promote music education and performance. MVSU is offering our students the opportunity to practice with them each day, Monday through Thursday. If board approved, the Greenwood Leflore Consolidated School District's high school students will be transported and will leave campus at approximately 4:15 p.m. and return back at 7:30 p.m. They will also play with Mississippi Valley State's Mean Green Marching Machine at home games. The GLCSD vehicles will also be used to transport students on Saturdays for games and practices as well. MVSU will provide funds for mileage for buses, payments for bus drivers, meals provided by our cafeteria staff. Each eligible student that qualifies for dual enrollment will receive 1 college credit hour towards a bachelor's degree. This will be provided at no expense to the GLCSD. This partnership, if board approved, will allow our band students the opportunity to cultivate academic prowess, assist in developing social skills, and provide an outlet for creativity. This concludes the superintendent's report.
Dr. Brown, I heard you say that we have 743 parents who selected the virtual option for their children. Could you please tell me what is our mechanism of reporting our COVID numbers to parents?
What is the mechanism for reporting COVID numbers to parents? So if we have a COVID outbreak, we do post that on our district's Facebook page. Our principals, as far as COVID in the building, principals send those letters to students and parents to notify them if there's a positive case in their building. And those were the documents that were board approved with our reopening plan. So to communicate that to the parents do receive, if their child has come in contact or if their child has tested positive, they do receive those letters.
So, Attorney Fuller, if I may, is there any way that we could create a policy that could show the number of cases that we have in every school? Like, can that be posted on the website or Facebook daily, so that the community and the parents and people who are involved, not saying names, but the number?
I think I hear your question, that is the board's wishes to create a policy to ensure transparency in the community regarding COVID cases in the school district. Could you display those numbers without names to the public on the district's website?
Yeah.
Yes, you can do that.
So board members, that's my suggestion, so that we can be transparent, so that parents can know at their child's school how many kids or teachers or staff are positive with COVID, and that our community can keep up with us as well. Any discussions, board members?
And board members, this is public information anyway. The district is reporting this information to the Department of Health. So I am aware of a few school districts that are currently doing this. So it wouldn't be against any law to post that information.
Madam President, question about the superintendent's report, if I may. Dr. Brown, on the MOU for MVSU, the attached letter, can we ask that it be updated
Yes.
to reflect that we're not Sunflower County Consolidated School District?
Yes, I will reach back out to
Thank
you.
you.
And I want to ask, will our band director be with these students 4 days a week, every day, every part of the time? Because you're talking about a ninth grader with a 22-year-old possibly at the same time?
Yes, ma'am. To answer your question, our band director and our staff will be there to supervise our students for each school. Right now that we do have the MOU for Amanda Elsie High School, they're going to send the ones for the other two high schools, but we will have our staff there to supervise our kids.
I have a question, Dr. Brown. In regard to I'm looking at our student numbers. Can we have a number of where we were last year in comparison to where we are today?
Yes, ma'am. Last year we were up 533 students. We do have students who are still not registered, so we're hoping that after Labor Day those numbers will increase. But the last year's numbers, I believe, were there. I did the calculations. 533 that we're down.
One question, Dr. Brown. GLCSD showcase. Hello? Okay. GLCSD showcase. Is this our first time? I have here, this is the first time that the consolidated district wanted to showcase children under GLCSD's name and not the individual high school.
Right. This is GLC as a whole. GLCSD as a whole. Yes, ma'am. We used to have our virtual superintendent social, and so now the Office of Academics is recognizing staff. And we're going to begin back with our virtual social so that we can recognize our students as well.
Was staff recognized at that superintendent social?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Board members, can I get a motion that we create a policy that we'll be able to show our numbers daily?
So moved.
Second.
It's been motioned and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Let the record show Dr. Bailey saying nay. Ayes have it, motion is carried. Chair will entertain a motion to receive.
Madam President, if I may. And my nay is based upon the district already reports that data, and then they inform the parents of the schools that their students attend if somebody tests positive, just for clarification.
But our community doesn't know as well.
Now, arguably, that I just said, just for
Okay.
clarification.
Thank you. Chair will entertain a motion to receive the superintendent's report.
Second.
It's been motioned and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion is carried. We're down to our chief monthly reports. First, we have Jacqueline Howard. Child Nutrition Department.
Good evening.
Any questions for Ms. Howard?
Miss Howard,
Hello.
can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, how, has the lunch procedure and process, in the midst of COVID-19, what is the status? And have we had any, issues?
Dr. Moore, I cannot hear you. I'm sorry.
Can you hear me now, Ms. Howard?
Yes, ma'am, I can now.
How has the process and procedure, how has the process and procedure for lunches and breakfast, what is the status of that?
What is the status for
Yes.
breakfast, lunch? Breakfast.
Procedure.
What is the status?
Yes.
Right now, we have the majority of the schools, they're coming through the serving line to make selections and going through and going back to their classroom. That's the majority of them. I think at Bankston, they were bagging the breakfast and they were taking theirs back to the classroom. I think it was kindergarten through first grade. But right now, that is the process or the procedure for the breakfast hour. They are coming through the serving line, getting their breakfast, going through point of sales, and going back to their classroom.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Howard,
Yes, ma'am.
so do we still not have ample number of people where those meals can be taken to the classroom?
No, ma'am. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Ms. Lewis.
That's my question.
Okay, right now, no, we have just enough staff to do preparations and make the meal process for now just coming through the serving line. We don't have enough staff to take meals to the classroom, not the cafeteria. We have hired a couple of people. They worked 2 days, then they will quit. So we don't have the staff, no ma'am, to take meals to the classroom, not just food service staff.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Talise Hudson, Transportation.
Question, Madam President?
Go ahead, Dr. Bailey.
Good evening, Ms. Hudson, are you with us?
Yes, sir, I am.
In regards to the condition or the lack of air conditioning or air conditioning on some of our school buses, can you speak to that as I've received several calls regarding such, and if by any chance we were proactive regarding school being out previously and identifying buses that may need some repair work done to them.
As it relates to the air conditioner buses that we do have, we inherited about 5 from the Greenwood Public School District and about 5 from the Leflore County School District. We have not had a full fleet of air conditioning buses either in the Leflore County School District nor in the Greenwood Public School District. As the 2019 school year, the Greenwood Leflore Consolidated School District purchased air conditioning buses. We purchased the buses based on a lot of money that the Mississippi Department of Education allotted to the Greenwood Leflore Consolidated School District. We're working with our state transportation director, who is now requiring us to purchase buses with air conditioning, and they're writing into the specs and things of that nature. As far as us being able to purchase a fleet of buses, we're looking at other which that would entitle us to 3 air conditioning buses. And we're just purchasing new buses as funds are allotted to us. As far as the upkeep goes, the buses are upkept, but we do have old models, and those buses were purchased without air conditioners. Again, I will state we inherited those non-air conditioning buses when we consolidated. Those same buses have been in Greenwood fleet for I know we're over 10 years, as well as the Full County School District for over 10 years.
So thank you for that, Ms. Hudson. And just for clarification, the buses that are equipped with AC, all of those buses, air conditioning does work, just for clarification.
As they have been reported to Mr. Anderson and myself in the shop staff.
Thank you.
Good evening, Ms. Hudson. Ms. Hudson?
Good evening.
Okay. Ms. Hudson, are we contact tracing on the buses?
Can you repeat that question?
Are the buses contact tracing? Do we have that procedure as students exit and enter the buses?
I'm not for sure if I follow your question, but let me answer to the best that I heard it, and if it's not what you're looking for, please restate your question. Contact tracing on the bus, we have not had any reported cases on our school buses. Most of the buses, the cases that have been reported are reported basically through the school. Once we get information from the principals, they do the contact tracing, and they'll give us a call. We'll screen out the drivers. We make sure that our students have their mask on, as well as the drivers. If the answer is no, then we have to follow the COVID-19 procedures. If it is yes, we follow those procedures for continuing operating the bus. But as the school term, we have not had a bus to go on quarantine. I'm not sure if that answers your question. I vaguely heard.
Okay, do we still have those bus monitors, or are we short of bus drivers and monitors?
We are very short of bus drivers and very short of bus monitors.
Thank you, Ms. Hudson.
Yes, ma'am.
M1 Brown, Safety and Security Department. M1 Brown. Mario Miller, Chief of Human Resource Services.
Question, Madam President?
Yes.
Good evening, Dr. Miller.
Good evening.
Dr. Miller, as it pertains to your report on your tax completion results, can you speak to those at-will agreements and making sure that all employees of the district have the at-will agreements as needed and they understand?
We've been very diligent over the last 6 months in trying to get all of our employees verified, their years of experience verified, our classified employees, years of experience verified, and their salaries in agreement with their years of experience. It has been a tedious task over these past 6 months. If there were questions regarding any of those variables, their experience, or their salary, hourly amounts, we have developed a procedure where the principal would contact my office with the names of those people who had questions or concerns about their at-will agreements. And from that, we would develop a schedule to meet with every single person who had a question about their at-will agreement. Like I said, this is a very, very tedious task. However, we have gotten through it. Only about, I would say on a whole, about 50 to 60 people have requested conferences. And during those conferences, what we would do is we would pull their personnel folder and go through each individual piece of paper. And when you're talking about many, many years of service, sometimes our filing system is not in the best shape. But what we did, we took what we had and we used it, and we came up with a solution that the district would have to respect, as well as the employee. And so it was more like a compromise if there were years missing, or if there was some discrepancy in the years of experience, in the years of experience in the district. But we have been very, very diligent. And when I say diligent, I mean diligent in trying to meet with everyone and trying to see that their concerns were answered, rather.
Thank you, Dr.
They are very,
Question, Madam President.
chief of maintenance, yes.
Good evening, Mr. Gary.
Fletcher Hodges, chief of extracurricular activity and compliance.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Hodges. Mr. Hodges, Dr. Hodges, excuse me.
Yes, ma'am.
The status or mini presentation of where we are with our performing arts department and choral music departments.
Okay, I'll touch base on some things that we have currently going on. We're currently in search of a new band director. We had a band director in place at Greenwood Middle School. That band director has since left us by their own choice. So we're searching for a band director at Greenwood Middle, who also serves Davis, but also serves Davis Elementary School. So that's where we are on that. The band is currently awaiting budget approval so that they can purchase instruments and have instruments repaired and buy other essentials for the band program. They are currently going to have a fall concert to where it's going to be individual in the fall, and during the spring we're going to have a collaborative district concert as well. They have other engagements that they're going to meet, such as performing at various universities and sites that they've been invited to, and that they're also seeking to perform at.
Mr. Hodges, Dr. Hodges, I apologize. I have been awaiting a presentation of itemized needs from this department. I do know that we did hear from athletics maybe 3 weeks to a month or so ago, and I was anticipating highly listening to and observing the needs of our programs for performing arts, that's band and choral music. I do know that this is an incentive area, a motivational area for our students, and in order for us to highlight areas in our district where our district is performing, competing, I do know that this particular department will need funds for travel, uniforms. So I would appreciate if we could get an itemized list. I do know that Dr. Brown presented something or gave the board a document maybe a month or so ago, but we just want to list that, that's doable. So if we could get that and get a presentation for this particular department, for which I've been asking, I know, a year. So can we get that done, Dr. Brown?
Yes, ma'am. What I presented to you, we did have some itemized lists. We just didn't have Greenwood High School and some of the music programs for the elementary school. The presentation was slated to occur during the last work session, which I wasn't here, so I'm not sure why it didn't go forward, but we would definitely do that.
I appreciate that.
Dr. Hodges.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'm looking on your compliance updates. Have you all completed Standard 6?
Well, Standard 6 deals with age of entry requirement at the elementary schools, and that is to verify that that a child, whether he or she is in pre-K or kindergarten, is of age to be at that, to enter that grade level, which is simply a birth certificate. So when we look at Standard 6, we also look at Standard 8, which is also part of the student records and the curriculum folders. So that principal is going to be required to make sure that Standard 6, which is an age of entry requirement, along with the other documents, are current, updated, accurate, and are placed in the curriculum folders. So in order for that entire curriculum folder to be complete, I met with the principals and his or her designee, and they have a deadline to make sure that all curriculum folders are complete. And that deadline is going to be the 1st of November, because some of those curriculum records, they have documents that are missing, documents that are outdated as well. So the age of entry, along with other items in the curriculum records, they're slated to be updated and complete November 1st.
Okay, and that led to my second question, which you kind of answered. What condition do you see those cumulative records being in, district-wide?
Well, it varies from school to school. Certain things need to take place, such as fireproof cabinets. All curriculum records are not currently in fireproof cabinets. That's being addressed with the principals and the principal's designee as well. As far as the overall condition of the curriculum records, it varies from some schools being in decent condition and some needing a little bit of work. Therefore, as a result of the wide range of issues that we see with the curriculum records, I'm giving them some time to go into the curriculum folders. They have direction on exactly what they need to look at. They also have a checklist that they're going to be checking off these items to make sure they're updated, to make sure they're present. And it's a certain order that they need to be in. And that order is going to allow anyone, from a principal at any school to someone from at the classroom level, to simply flow through each curriculum record at any individual school and see consistency there. So it's a wide range of conditions that the folders are in, but they have a deadline of November to have all records complete.
Okay, thank you.
Clinton Gatewood, Chief of Athletics.
Question, Madam President.
Go ahead.
Good evening, Mr. Gatewood.
Good evening.
Can you advise if all teams and coaches who are currently in competition have what they need to compete?
ones that's in Dragonfly, we have complied. The ones that have sticking updates as we go, from certain coaches about certain players that are being added. As for the grade level, eligibility, they are confirmed.
As it pertains to equipment, everybody's in good shape, they have what they need.
To my knowledge, we have ordered all the equipment that they need to successfully complete. We're still waiting on some things to come in that's not on back order, but is a shipping problem. But the necessities they need, we're still waiting on a couple of footballs for the middle school. But other than that, everyone should have everything they need to compete safely.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Gatewood.
Good evening.
I have a question. I don't know if this may be a question for Dr. Brown, but how will virtual instruction impact the athletic program this year? Have you heard from the Athletic Association?
No, well, the only thing the Mississippi High School Activity Association have in place will not, if a school goes 1% virtual, the kids can still practice with approval of the board. But they haven't said anything about if a kid is going virtual and participating right now. So right now, the only thing they have in place, if a school have went 1% virtual, that school cannot participate.
If a school
go 1% virtual, that means if like right now, it's a situation that happened in Greenville when they went 2 weeks of virtual. Well, by them going 2 weeks of virtual, the students cannot participate for 2 weeks. Another example, when Greenwood High School shut down for 1 week, they was not able to participate in that following week in any type of sports.
So would that impact, or how would that impact the athletic program? Can you hear me?
I give you,
How would that impact the program for the entire maybe season or year?
well, abiding by the rules that it wouldn't impact the school district if we went hybrid, rather, or we went, some students went virtual, some students continue to go to school. As long as the school is not shut down 1% virtual, the teams will still be able to participate.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Gatewood,
Yes.
how many volleyball games, have been canceled due to COVID?
Ooh. Maybe 4 to 5, and that's with all schools.
That's a combined,
That's the combined rate for all schools. We had some games that, with volleyball, we had a couple games canceled, not because of our kids, but because of other kids. I think we may have had 2 games be canceled because of our students. Now, we had a problem with other people's cancellation because they had problems with students.
okay, thank you.
One more question, Madam President. Mr. Gatewood,
Yes, ma'am.
so if our district has a virtual option, if that is approved, will that impact athletics for either the season or the year?
Now, if the district decides to go on virtual as a whole, if everyone going virtual as a whole, it would impact. It would have to shut down all activities, any type of athletic activity, any type of extracurricular activity. The only thing Mississippi High School is saying right now, if a school decides to go 1% virtual, that's 1% virtual, there's a ruling coming down from the district, down to the superintendent, down to the principal, that we decide we will go virtual for the remainder of the year. Then those schools cannot participate in any type of activity that's sanctioned by Mississippi Valley School Activities Association.
So as it stands now, 743 parents have opted for virtual.
Mm-hmm.
So how's that going to impact the year?
Basically, we got 3,000 students in the district, and 740 some kids have opted out. Totally of this, it wouldn't have any impact.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Gaywood,
Yes, ma'am.
how many of those, how many of that 700 and something are involved in any type of sport?
I don't know that yet, Ms. Lewis.
Okay.
I haven't been given those names.
Ms. Lewis, I can say I don't have the names or the grades, but at Greenwood, Amanda Elder High School, there's 81 students. They may not all be athletics. At Greenwood High School, 113 students, and at Leflore County High School, 67 students. So out of that, we don't know who are the athletes or not.
Okay. Thank you.
Sabrina Tanner Moore, Alternative School.
Good evening.
Ms. Moore,
Yes, ma'am.
how is the alternative school gearing up to assist and support the district? Right now, I see you all see there are no students.
Well, actually, we do have a student. We've had her now for about 10 days. After that, when that report was due, we did not have any students. We do have one, and we have 3 more that will be coming this week. We are actually supporting all schools as best we can and assisting to ensure that all academic are continuing and there's no gap.
How many teachers do you have at the alternative school?
I have 3 certified instructors.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Mary Johnson, Student Support Specialist. Mary Johnson. Yolanda Greer, Chief of K-2 Learning.
Good evening.
Lashada Roby Cornell, School Improvement.
Good evening.
Nakisha Collins, District MTSS Behavior Specialist.
Good evening.
Mr. Cleo Ward, Juvenile Detention Center. Mr. Cleo Ward. Danita Flowers, Office of Math Education.
Good evening.
LaCretta Woods, Chief of Distance Learning.
Good evening.
Mrs. Andrea Parker, Chief of Special Education.
Good evening, everyone.
Chiquita Daniels, Chief of Science and History.
Good evening.
Iris Hurt, Chief of English Language Arts. Iris Hurt.
Madam President, if I may.
Yes.
Mrs. Hurt, looking at your report and noticing,
I don't think she's there.
she's not on.
She could not be on.
Okay, cool. I was just gonna make a comment, but thank you.
Geneva Vacation, Office of Testing and Professional Development.
Hello, everyone.
Good evening.
Yes.
Can you just give a brief synopsis of the process procedure of testing during COVID?
The process of testing during COVID.
Yeah, just brief process and procedure, how we're handling COVID during testing.
Okay, the CDC recommends that, when we're testing, students are placed at least 3 feet apart. So in the school, students are admonished to assign students, seating, not face to face, they have to be seated in straight rows, and they have to be seated at least 3 feet apart. And depending on the size of the lab, that they determine how many students can be placed in each room at one time. And of course, they must wear their mask at all times. Test administrators and proctors and students have to have their masks.
All testing is computer-based, or are there, did you hear
It's
me?
online. All of our tests are online.
Okay. Those labs, those computers are mighty close in those labs. Have those labs been altered?
No, the labs have not been altered. However, they have to seat them at least 3 feet apart.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Cassandra Hart.
Question,
Good evening.
question, Madam President. Good evening, Ms. Hart. As it pertains to the test scores that you should have received on August the 26th, I know you may have not had opportunity to fully analyze that data, but just based upon maybe a brief overview, were there anything or any instances that stood out to you?
I've talked with U.S. history teacher, and since one of the teachers are gone, we've been in the process of separating his scores from that teacher's scores so we can look at the strands, because what we are noticing that, and we're waiting on the report by strand to see what strands. They didn't do very poorly, but we do realize that we may be missing some points in some of the strands. So what we want to do moving forward is to analyze to see what strands in the history where we are leaving all the points on the table, so that we can come up with a plan to address those strands and strengthen instruction in those strands or testing, and hopefully we'll see some better results on this year's testing, because we do realize, looking at previous, just in conversation, is that they realize that they're leaving a lot of points on the table in certain strands, economics being one of those.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
Ms. Hart,
Yes.
can you just update us on textbooks? Are the students using actual textbooks, or are they online? And do all students have textbooks?
Okay, what in the social studies department, teachers do have the old old textbooks that are in their classroom. But right now, we are able to purchase the new textbooks for each classroom. All teachers have access to the new textbook online, and the students also have access to those textbooks online. What they've been asked to do, because we're about to transition from a basic to the plus, is not to set the students up in the classes in the program in Savvy yet until the transition happens. So the students will be able to log on to Canvas, and when they log on to Canvas, they'll be able to access their textbooks without having a separate log on. So they are using textbooks that are already in the classroom, which are older textbooks, but they do have access to the new textbook and all the online resources to go along with that textbook, so that they can be using that textbook until the print copies arrive in the district.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Brown, is that, basically the same across other disciplines? As it
Yes,
relates to textbooks?
and to my understanding, the textbooks were placed on hold before we could order those. And Dr. Pullen and his team, the teachers or the team actually submitted the number of textbooks needed, but that was placed on hold until we could actually order those. But to answer your question, yes.
Thank you.
Madam President, I have a question. Ms. Hart?
Yes, ma'am.
I have another question related to textbooks. The textbooks that we have elected to utilize, are they aligned to the Mississippi College and Career Readiness Standards?
They are, and what the textbooks are totally aligned. They have been approved by Mississippi Department of Education. They are aligned to the College and Career Readiness Standards for the state of Mississippi.
Okay. The older textbooks that our students are using, so have they been vetted for maybe non-alignment at this point? I don't know of any changes that have come through the Mississippi College and Career Readiness Standards, but typically when textbooks are revised, they're revised to align with, I guess, the latest trend or the latest skill set or concept that should be taught. So does it still cover the alignment?
They cover some things, and I'm going to say, we're going to talk about the U.S. history textbook. The U.S. history textbook that is now in use was purchased in 2007-2008 school year. So even though the instructors have to go through and find that information and find other resources, the information is there, but this past year was an adoption year for social studies because social studies tests change. But the information is there, but those books have been updated. That is why they can use those textbooks as resources, because dates and things in history didn't change. The president was the president the year they were president. That didn't change. What happened in history happened in history. So they can still use that information in order to teach the objectives that they're teaching. But the new textbooks have put new information in and things of that nature. So they can still use those old textbooks so the students can have something physical to touch and be able to flip to while they're using the new textbook, because they can access that new textbook online. So that's why, all textbooks are resources. And we want them to actually be able to put their hands on something, because some kids need to be able to physically touch and turn a page. Not everyone does well with the online textbook, but
at least they have that in the classroom, because if not all students have their Chromebooks. I've been in classroom where some students have the Chromebooks where they can access the textbook and follow along with the teachers, and then others don't. Because of our COVID restrictions, they can't share because they have to stay apart.
Right.
So we need something that they'll be able to touch and be able to use as well. So I understand what you're saying, but you have to understand we have to make do with what we have until we get what we need. So we're trying to provide something for them to use. The old textbooks are a resource, but they also have access to their new textbook in order to teach what the standards, the updated standards.
And I want to just add to that. Until we get those classroom sets in, we do have as Ms. Hart stated, all students have the access, and teachers have the access to the online version. They also have access to hard copies and of a resource until that particular book comes in. But we can assure you that they have digital access to the new material and using the hard copy as a resource.
Thank you. Great information. Thanks, Ms. Hart and Dr. Pulley.
You're welcome.
Dr. Pulley, so did you say they have been ordered, or the books have been ordered, or not ordered, or?
Okay, what we tried to do was we wanted to look through each particular subject area to make sure, because as we know, textbooks are, Ms. Washington, they are just terribly expensive. And so Ms. Jefferson and Ms. Hart have outlined those particular numbers that we need for each particular grade. And I can tell you some have already been ordered, and those are the ones that we definitely need right now, like yesterday. And then those areas where we have that closer alignment, then they are being keyed in. But as far as what students have, they have what they need. We make sure we check that. But we have had some shipping concerns and some order concerns. So that would be the reason why we had to make some adjustments, but making sure that students have what they need for instruction, as they come in.
Thank you.
Shannon Storms Technology.
Question,
Hello.
Good evening, Mr. Storms.
All right.
And this may not be a question for your area. If it is not, I do apologize. By chance, do you have a rough figure of how many students in the district that may not have Chromebooks?
We have to fill every order requested, basically, so that I am not aware of. Anytime a principal requests additional devices, we have provided. We have issued out, at this time, we had over 3,100 new hotspots, brand new, that were issued. That count has gone up since this report was due. So at this time, we have no backlog of any devices waiting.
All right, thank you.
I will double check that. I took that to mean that the student may not have brought the Chromebook to school that day.
Okay.
But we will double check that just to make sure, because all students should have them.
Thank you.
Cynthia House, Federal Program.
Good evening.
Question, Madam President. Good evening, Ms. House. We're staying in compliance.
Yes, we are working on clearing those 9 indicators that were cited a few months ago. I am working with the district leadership team and those departments such as JDC and the business office who had indicators that fell in the federal programs department. So we had a timeline, and I am constantly in communication with them, hoping that we're sticking to those timelines and I can get those artifacts uploaded by October 15th.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
It's Chandra Gary, Early Learning Collaborative. It's Chandra.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I know you don't have a question for me, but Ms. Willis, I would like to piggyback on what Dr. Hodges provided. The benefits of the online registration allow us to verify the birth certificate and child record when we're registering students. So students are not allowed to enter into being verified if they don't meet those requirements. So that also ensures that we are in the compliance with standard number 6. We will be having a meeting with all elementary counselors to ensure that they understand the importance of the cumulative folders and ensuring those documents are placed in the folders and making sure that they're in fireproof safes.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Willis.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for Ms. Gary? Well, that will complete our chief monthly reports. Thank you. Dr. Brown.
Next, we have 16 section, next we have the additional targeted support and interventions report for the Fulton County Elementary and the school at-risk report for East Elementary. Dr. Cook.
For both schools, school leadership teams have been meeting to discuss schedules and interventions for students. Principals at both schools are working with district level administrators to build staff capacity in providing quality classroom instruction. Additionally, professional development sessions are being scheduled and conducted as well to provide the instructional support. Dr.
Next, we have the 16 section land report, Mr. Mike Ainsworth.
Good to see everyone. So we have 3 items on the agenda. First, I'm going to the recreational lease contract with Casey Mullins. This is over in Brayley Campsite. It's going to be lot number 38. You'll see the fair market rent is $300. Just as a reminder how we arrive at what that rent's going to be, we basically take the land value the tax assessor has on the property and take 5%, and that's how we've come up with the lease payment. Second item is approval of a release instrument where Mr. Andy Braswell Sr. is surrendering a very small portion of a piece of an agricultural property. Actually has no crops on that whatsoever. And that is in relation to the third item where we're going to approve, if you would approve a right-of-way easement on 1618 North 2 West on 9107 acres. And all of that. The last 2 and 3 items are related to each other, of course. The first one is just a new contract.
So we're going to take action on it.
Yes, ma'am, you can take action if you wanted to on all 3 of them if you want to.
All right, Chair, I want to entertain a motion to approve this recreational lease contract to Casey Mullins for the Brayley campsite, fair market rent $300. Andy Braswell Sr. and a right-way of easement for 1618 North -2 West with a fair market rent of $50.
And I should have indicated that's Zach Ellis is receiving that right-of-way easement. I apologize, that should have been put on there, Zach Ellis.
Zach Ellis.
Correct.
Chair, I want to entertain a motion. It's been motion and second, all in favor? Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion is carried.
So if I could, for information purposes, Ms. Clark had just passed out what we created today. It's, basically, we made a request to the tax assessor's office. For information purposes, you know, at the last Monday of August, you have what's called your tax sale. So if you have private land, you have to the last Monday to pay the property taxes. Otherwise, they are actually have a tax sale conducted at the courthouse. Now I think a lot of that's done online, but the list here that you have are our 16 section leaseholders that have not paid their property taxes. Well, today I've prepared letters for all of those that are on your list. The letters will be mailed out tomorrow morning. We will follow up with these individuals to make sure that the taxes are paid. If they're not paid, I'll come back with a recommendation to cancel those contracts. Okay? The reason that's so important is because you receive a good portion of the tax revenue that's received from the property tax collection. So we want to make sure we do our best to be able to collect those taxes. Any questions about anything we went over tonight? And one more thing, in the next month or so, we'll have a bunch of agricultural leases getting ready to expire, and we'll go and start advertising those out for bid, okay?
There's nothing else. Thank you, Mr. Ainsworth.
Thank you.
Dr. Brown.
Approve to hire Mr. Mike Ainsworth, 16 section land. And attached, you have the contract for professional services. The superintendent recommends approval to hire Mr. Mike Ainsworth to oversee the 16 section land of Greenwood Leflore Consolidated School District for the 2021-2022 school year.
Question, Madam President?
Go ahead.
Two concerns. One, there is no start or end date included unless I overlooked it, which I think, of course, I would defer to our legal counsel in regards to that. And then for number 4, and maybe my colleagues are familiar, but what is a typical hourly rate for someone in this position?
I'm not ready to serve Dr. Bailey, but I think we could, maybe legal counsel or Mr. Washington, maybe they will know.
I am not aware, in professional services contracts, of course, be up to the board, but in looking to this same number that Dr. Bailey has mentioned, number 4, I'm just noticing it does say that reasonable expenses approved by the superintendent shall be paid. That needs to say approved by the school board.
For me, I was just looking for maybe year to year. For example, I think for Attorney Pulley, he may be on a retainer or contract for year to year. But for number 7, it may be an issue where we can't agree upon something. But that was just my interpretation, but I could be wrong.
And board members, colleagues, I would, maybe like for us to vet the amount of money we paid out versus, an amount of money if we would hire or could hire someone. Can you all hear me? Okay. If we could hire someone who has that area of expertise, on board, we could do maybe an onboarding. So I
The superintendent recommends approval to hire Mr. Mike Ainsworth to oversee the 16th section land of the Greenwood Leflore Consolidated School District for the 2021-2022 school year.
Chair will entertain a motion to approve to hire Mike Ainsworth to oversee the 16th section land of GLCSD for the 21-22 school year. It's been motion and second, all in favor? Any opposed?
Nay.
Ayes have it, motion is carried. Dr. Brown.
Page 54, approval of student release from the Greenwood Leflore Consolidated School District. Hiring freeze.
Board members, this hiring freeze goes back to, this summer, and we just never did make the motion. So Chair will entertain a motion to, put a freeze on our hiring, with the exception of consultants and essential workers. It's been motion and second, all in favor? Any opposed?
Nay, but I have a question.
Go ahead, Dr. Brown.
So when we say hiring freeze, are we saying that, is this for consultants only, or is this based upon, if, just say for instance, the school district needs to hire a teacher, or they need to hire a bus driver?
We consider that an essential worker.
That's the essential worker?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, well.
So this is the same thing we talked about this
Okay,
summer.
that's fine, I
That the
support it.
board did not wish for any new hires
Okay,
or,
I support it, thank you. For the clarification.
so did I finish? So it carried, right? All right. Our ayes have it, motion is carried. Dr. Brown.
Page 54, approval of student release from the Greenwood Leflore Consolidated School District. Listed below, parents requesting approval for their children to be released from the districts for the following reason. The superintendent recommends that the school board approve the above-mentioned parents' request to have their children released from the Greenwood Leflore Consolidated School District.
Chair will entertain a motion to approve the above-mentioned parents' request to have their children released from GLCSD. Been motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion is carried. Dr. Brown.
Page 55, approval of use of 16th section interest funds. The Greenwood Leflore Consolidated School District is requesting to use 16th section interest funds for one-time costs to complete special projects for the athletic programs not to exceed $1 million and extracurricular activities and performance arts programs not to exceed $1 million to enhance these programs throughout the district.
Dr. Brown, I would like to know, do you have any documentation, or can you show any evidence that we can use this money for these purposes for 16th section land? Or Ms. Washington, do you know? Either one is fine. If y'all can show us evidence or documentation that this money for 16th section land can be used, and I ask that because there's a board in this state for misappropriating 16th section land, has gone to jail, and they were responsible. No, let me take it back. We could go to jail or be responsible for paying back these monies, and it was a board that had to, each board member had to pay $250,000 apiece, that was mandated by the state auditor's office.
Board members, as it relates to the Mississippi statute 29.3.115, it states that the expendable funds derived from 16th section or lieu lands may be expended for the building and repair of schoolhouses, teachers' homes, and other school facilities, the purchase of furniture, school vehicles, and equipment for same, the payment of teachers' salaries, and for all other purposes in operating and maintaining the schools of the district to which such funds belong, for which other available school funds may be expended. It's my understanding that you can use the 16th section funds, the interest funds. Is that your understanding, Ms. Washington?
Interest, that's correct. It's possible funds where you can get in trouble because the state requires that it goes through the Secretary of State office.
Can you get a mic so we can make sure we hear what you're saying?
Your principal funds are the ones that you mostly will get in trouble about simply because they have to be approved through the Secretary of State's office over the division of the 16 section lands. They have to give you permission to use those funds, and you must use them according to what they said or what you asked for. And I know there are some laws that are on the books where some school districts get in trouble about that purchase of salaries, and they were supposed to be removing bats or something. And but as far as 16th section, your interest fund, that money is permissible to use as the board deems necessary. I always caution the board when it comes to 16th section simply because it should only be used for one time. But I also want to put in front that your children's education, the building that they're in, is in dire needs. And I would also say address that first. So.
What is the balance of the interest fund?
Right now we have 6.1 million in it.
And we cannot use.
He said we can.
You can use it.
Okay, but it can only be interest. Okay.
That is a 16th section interest fund.
Okay.
That's not the fund balance, that's the 16th section.
Okay.
Dr. Brown?
The superintendent is recommending that the school board grant the Greenwood Leflore Consolidated School District permission to use 16th section interest funds for the one-time cost to complete special projects for athletics and extracurricular activities, performance arts programs throughout the district in an amount not to exceed $1 million for each project.
Question, Madam President?
Go ahead, Dr. Burton.
Is it possible to reduce the dollar amount, and not necessarily say not to exceed 1 million, but maybe to say not to exceed 500,000? Is that possible?
Yes, and what I'll do is I'll get the itemized documents there. In one area, they don't even exceed 500, but we were still waiting on elementary music information and Greenwood High School band information. And so we just put it at $1 million, and then the board can decide on what the amount would be.
I have a question. Where are the fund, Madam President? I have a question.
Go ahead.
Can we use this, are there any other fund sources we could use to assist and support this area?
Now, normally when we do the budget for the year, if some of those things are addressed then I could actually include it into our regular budget. So those sources right now, there is some funding, but not a lot of funding because of, not having a list of things that they were planning on doing. But I would like for the board to also put in mind that if you're talking about consolidating those schools, do you want to put that kind of resource in those particular schools at this point? Or do you want to look at the bigger picture of, okay, if we plan on consolidating the schools, then should we address and put that money there? Because that's the same problem we're having now with that ESSA money. We're going to have to concentrate on getting each building up and running versus where we want the kids to be eventually.
And board members, if I can add, although we are consolidating schools, I use our band program as an example. buying instruments, whether you consolidate or not, we need instruments in our schools. Our kids in one school hadn't had, equipment in 20 to 25 years. So even as you consolidate, those items will still be used throughout the district.
I agree.
Dr. Brown?
The superintendent is recommending that the school board grant the Greenwood Leflore Consolidated School District permission to use the 16th section interest funds for the one-time cost to complete special projects for the athletics and extracurricular activities, performance arts programs throughout the district in an amount not to exceed $1 million for each project.
Chair will entertain a motion to grant the GLCSD permission to use 16th section interest funds for the one-time cost to complete special projects for athletics and extracurricular activities, performance arts programs throughout the district in an amount not to exceed $1 million for each project. It's been motion second, all in favor? Any opposed?
Nay.
Nay. Dr. Brown?
The Greenwood
I'm
Leflore.
sorry. Ayes have it, motion is carried. Dr. Brown?
Page 56, the Greenwood Leflore Consolidated School District's 2021-2022 Athletics and Extracurricular Activity Supplement Scale. Greenwood Leflore Consolidated School District is requesting approval of the Athletics and Extracurricular Activity Supplement Scale for the 2021-2022 school year on the attached page.
Question, Madam President?
Go ahead, Dr. Brown.
Dr. Brown, who recommends coaches?
The athletic director.
All right, so our athletic director currently serves as the head football coach, so he recommends himself for a job.
I'm recommending the athletic director. I'm recommending the head football coach for Greenwood High School.
Okay, all right. So who sets the salary scales for the coaches?
Mr. Johnson and Mr. Gabriel have looked at this in comparison to some other districts, I believe districts or what have you, and they both have looked over this scale. Mr. Johnson actually submitted the scale to me after Mr. Gabriel submitted it to him.
So the AD, who's the head coach, also sets the salary scale for athletics.
But the final approval goes through Mr. Johnson, then it comes to me.
Understood. So the point I'm making is, I don't see how an individual should be allowed to set their own salary. But, Madam President, if you recall, there was some discussion previously regarding positions that had similar duties or the same duties, or even titles to some degree. And if you look at this particular salary scale, you see that there are different salaries being proposed.
You say, I didn't hear your last statement.
There are different salaries being proposed.
Uh-huh.
And I certainly have concerns about that. And if I'm not mistaken, and I could be, certain schools have certain positions while other schools do not.
So I'm certainly not athletic guru, but could it be that, so I'm sure Greenwood High has the most amount of students, so would not Greenwood High need more than, I'm just gonna say Leflore County, because I'm sure that program is not as big as Greenwood High.
Point well taken, but we're all dealing with equipment. Each school needs equipment now.
I thought we were talking about positions. You said it was more positions.
Right, the equipment manager is listed on here as a position.
Okay.
Each school does not have that.
Dr. Brown?
I believe, and let me call Mr. Gabriel, but I believe that equipment manager is assigned to some schools, but I don't want to say, I just said, but I don't want to say. Let me get Mr. Gabriel on the line.
Dr. Brown?
Yes, ma'am.
Who is making this recommendation? I see on some of them, I see prepared by Mr. Johnson. This one says prepared by policy reference GBRCA. So, are you making this recommendation?
Yes, ma'am.
personnel in the school district is recommended by the superintendent, and all salaries are approved by the school board, not any individual of the school district.
Mr. Gatewood.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. So we are looking at the salary scale, and the question, if I'm correct, is that Greenwood High School scale is different from the other scales, the other high school scales. Can you explain?
Yeah, in 2019, the board passed the salary for Greenwood High School was supposed to be 11.5 for all head coaches. And it came back this year, and so how we got changed, we don't know. But based on the success of those programs that was at Greenwood High School, they trying to see why they end up with a deduction from 2019 up to now. To bring clarification to the situation is that 4A school making the same as a 2A school with dealing with more kids is totally different.
Dr. Brown, so the question becomes, I do recognize that 4A is different from 2A or 3A, but that does not negate a kid coach carrying out the same duties. For example, and again, there are clearly discrepancies in this. If you look at fall for Greenwood High, you look at the choir director or the chess coach, that salary is the same at Els and Leflore. So why is it consistent there, but in other areas it's not? And in regards to being successful, if you look at Greenwood High, head boys basketball coach, that particular salary. Coach Ford just won a state championship, I think, 2 years ago, Dr. Brown? Yeah. That's successful, but look at what he's being compensated.
And to respond to that, Coach Ford also received an additional supplement, but I do agree with the scales being the same for all high schools. I don't have an issue with that if there's money for that. You don't speak for Ms. Greenwood.
Okay, man. Mr. Davis, as an advocate for coaches getting done right, I understand your issue when you're saying that all people should get paid the same across the board. I think it's clearly unfair to the coaches that coach 4A ball versus a coach that coach 2A ball, because the first thing we deal with the number of kids. That's the first thing, deal with the number of kids. It's just, I'm going to give you an analogy of something that you might understand a little better. How can you pay an elementary principal the same you pay a high school principal when they have more duties? So is it fair to a coach, because we're talking about people now, we're talking about fair labor now. Is it fair that an elementary principal makes the same as a high school principal that has more duties and have more responsibilities? Is it fair? Then, when we talked in 2019 about the upgrade scale, we're trying to get everybody opportunities. So if you coach 2A ball, 3A ball, the reason people move classification is to be a higher paid position and more competitive positions. Now, let's be fair across the board. There's no way that elementary football coach will leave and go to a college level and make the same thing. So, let's be fair across the board about this. And I don't think it's fair.
All right,
I'm speaking not just for me as a coach. I'm speaking from classification. Because right now, when we talked about the salary cap in 2019, I gave you all a pay scale what the average coach makes in 4A, 5A, 6A, 1A, 2A, 3, and 3A. So, and we still stay below that scale. That's why we need to lose so many coaches a year, because the pay salary is so low. And I'm going to take it back in 2018.
when coach was getting an additional 204 contract, they were getting an extra 17 days. Well, right now you have these coaches on straight supplement, and we cannot continue to compete with other districts to keep in personnel, not just coaches. We talking about certified teachers in these positions, and we can continue to lower the pay scale every year. And then the question gonna be brought to me: how you gonna? It was already brought to me. How we gonna pay this coach the same as I made in 2019, and they had I'm gonna say a not successful year. So when we talking about across the board, and I understand that we gave board incentives when it came to win the state, that's different. So the 11.5 that he made, the money that he made, and plus the incentives, he got his incentives. So when you talking about taking everybody else's money, I don't think it's fair.
So Coach Gay Wood. Coach Gay Wood.
Mm-hmm.
So is this across the state of Mississippi? So like, I don't understand what it means, 2A, 3A, 4A, the size of the school. So is this across the board that if we were to check into this, I'm just gonna say, Sunflower County. So with this, the same way that this is set up that you have, will we see that in Sunflower County? Or is this something you just making up for Leflore County?
I can't understand the question though.
So, the question is, if they reference any of the scales in other school districts with the changes in the differences in salaries based upon the class, look like what our district has?
No, it won't. It's like you said, it goes back to classification. If you go to most schools that's 1A, 2A, 3A, and 4A, everybody have a salary bump. They some of them get paid percentage, some of them get paid. The difference is, in the board is that those coaches in other places, they might have, like they might say it might be $5,000, but those coaches get additional days through the year that makes up the difference. Like Greenwood used to be to the point where they have a 204 contract versus a 187 contract now. Everybody right now just on straight 187. Now, if you see in the past where they get a 204 contract that makes the additional days up, the supplement the money that they used to get. But now, they just get straight supplement.
So, question maybe.
And that's why it's so hard to compare those days. I'm going to give you Greenville, for instance. Greenville get an extra 17 days through the summertime. Then in clubs, they get 6,500. So when you take the 6,500 plus the 17 days, what a person might earn, they supplement really like $10,000. So that's why we lose the coaches everywhere else to other places, because we just get paid a straight supplement, which is really little nothing. By the time they put it in, and my question goes back to now, we decided to pay, we decided to pay DeAndre and Art more than you pay a coach that practice 5 days a week, 3 or 4 hours a day, versus a person that practices maybe once or twice a week, maybe an hour a day, and you paying them more than you paying a person that actually out with more hours. And I don't think it's fair. I go to work 20 hours a day, and you got another person go 3 hours, 20 hours a week, and you got another person go 3 hours a week, and they make more money than me. That's unfair. That's totally unfair.
If I may, 2 points. We talk about fairness. Hypothetically, if I have a chief of communication making $20,000 and I have a chief of lighting making $40,000, that could be perceived as being unfair. They have the same title. You mentioned principals, and correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Brown or Ms. Washington. Principals are paid on the same scale. High school principals are paid on the same scale, and their pay is based upon certification and degrees. Am I correct?
Elementary and middle, they're paid differently, but
On the same, correct.
on the same
Okay.
scale.
So again, the point is moot in my opinion. I just think everybody should be paid the same.
Dr. Brown, how would the district look financially if this is approved? Can we afford this?
So ask Ms. Washington that question, because I'm looking at I'm just looking at Greenwood High, I'm looking at, Elsie High, and I think the three high schools are in question. The assistance is like a $300 difference from what I'm seeing, and just maybe a couple of more thousand for the head coaches.
What is already listed and recommended, can we afford this, Dr. Brown?
Ms. Washington, are we able to afford that? But Dr. Moore, if you ask me, I would say yes, given that the district does have the money to pay it, but Ms. Washington is the financial expert, so I would ask her to respond.
When it comes to things such as this, I would rather have a total in front of me. Yes, the district could afford, but we're also looking at the increases we've already had, and we're trying to compare them to what we did last year. So again, can we afford? Yes, simply because we do have a fund balance. But I do know at the end of the day, if we continue on like we're going, that affordability gonna run out. So I always caution you, regardless of whatever you got, you have in front of you, that money adds up eventually, because it's not just what you see on this paper. It's benefits and stuff that are going to be associated with it that you have to pay as well. And that won't happen until you put that paper or the pencil to the paper to come up with those totals.
Well, I have to agree with Coach Greenwood, because I don't think it's fair that you pay, like he said, somebody that they stand every evening, sometimes on weekends, and then you would pay somebody else who's just 3 hours. That would be just like Miss Ray. We can't even pay Miss Ray enough. She spends the night with us every time we stay at a board meeting. So I feel like Miss Ray stay here. I'm sure she probably sleep on us, but I feel like she needs to be compensated for the amount of time that she spends after hours when somebody else who makes what she makes is gone home. So to Mr. Gatewood's defense, I guess I would say, I have to wholeheartedly agree with what he's saying. It's not, to me, it's not fair to pay somebody else who only practices 2 or 3 days, but they practicing sometimes 7 days a week. But that's just my opinion.
And in the defense of the music department, they don't have assistants. They deal with they have students on all their own, and they may practice 3, 4 days out of the week, but they don't have assistants. And so they're basically working with those students themselves. And I do think that they work very extremely hard.
And I would also like to say, I didn't just say this when Ms. Ray was here. I said the same thing when Margaret Dean was here. So I'm not showing favoritism to anybody, but that's just what I believe.
And final question, Madam President. So, Dr. Brown, we see no problem with one school having all these positions and not another school having the same positions as needed, i.e. equipment manager.
So if the equipment manager is needed at the other schools, I do feel like the other schools should have an equipment manager. And that's a question, Mr. Gatewood, how is this equipment manager being utilized and other schools don't have one?
Equipment, who don't have one?
I'm at how many, Greenwood High?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Everyone has an equipment manager. The equipment manager is just a stadium worker that we hire for the stadium, and what they do is they help out with the equipment. They come out and paint the field. They come out, they make sure the equipment where they also travel on the away trips to make sure that all the equipment is there, make sure that they helping out. They sort of have another coach, but the thing about their main job is to make sure that the equipment is on the bus. We have the water right, we have the tape out, they get the uniforms out, They get the equipment, anything they need fixing, they fix the equipment. They do any necessity that needs to be done around before game time. So it's a big help.
Okay, I think the discrepancy is that it's only listed for Greenwood High on the bill and not other schools.
No, it's not. No, it's not. That's not true. I have an equipment manager.
But Mr. Gaylord, well, you're saying we're looking at paper, and it's only listed for Greenwood High, so you may have to add it. We're not saying that it's not there, it's just not on the paper. We're on the supplement. We're looking at the supplement bill. Yeah, we haven't gotten to the person. We're on the supplement bill.
Well, those positions was added back here when we hired those senior workers to work. Those are the same guys that are the equipment manager, which is a person in Hills and a person at Leflore.
Okay, so I think what Mr. Gaywood is saying, we haven't gotten to personnel, but there is an equipment manager for each school. And those, okay.
So did they just get excluded on this,
He put them on the personnel page, the actual names, but the name equipment manager is not listed under Greenwood High in Leflore County High School, but it is listed on his personnel page.
So they approved those positions back in maybe May or June. When they approved those positions, like me. Now, I even gave a stacking sheet to everyone with the equipment manager on there. Then we hired someone actually, I think it was maybe in February or March. And those guys are...
So if you look on page, for an example, 497, you'll see the Leflore County High School has an equipment manager listed. On page, I'm looking for Amanda Elder High School on page 496, you'll see an equipment manager listed. You'll see the position and the name.
so Dr. Brown, could you just say the correction when you make the,
Yes, ma'am.
because it is in personnel.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Ms. Gilwood.
Dr. Brown.
The superintendent recommends the school board approval of the athletics and extracurricular activity supplemental scale for the 2021-2022 school year with the equipment managers for the Leflore County High School and the Leflore County Elementary School, which are included in the personnel.
Tell me again, when you said what school?
The Leflore County High School and Amanda Elder High School.
Chair will entertain a motion to approve the athletics and extracurricular activity supplement scale for 21-22 school year, including equipment managers for Leflore County High School and Amanda Elder High School.
So moved.
It's been motioned and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Ayes have it, motion is carried. Let the record show Dr. Roshan Bailey voting nay. Dr. Brown.
Page 61, approval of request for a turnabout. The Greenwood Leflore Consolidated School District's Transportation Department requested a turnabout for Country Manor Estates apartment complex located inside it. The reason for this request, we have some students who live in an apartment complex and they were having to walk through an area where parents felt like it wasn't safe, our buses were too large to turn around in the complex, so we requested that a turnabout be placed there. Had to get the permission first from the property owner because it is private property.
Okay.
The superintendent recommends school board approval of a turnabout for Country Manor Estates apartment complex located inside of Mississippi.
Chair will entertain a motion to approve a turnabout for Country Manor Estates apartment complex located inside Mississippi.
So moved.
Second.
It's been motioned and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion is carried. Dr. Brown.
Approval to participate in the Mississippi State Department of Health K through 12 school screening testing, provider partnerships for COVID-19 screening testing with Maverick Health. The Greenwood Leflore Consolidated School District is requesting permission to participate in the Mississippi State Department of Health's K through 12 school screening testing program, provider partnerships for COVID-19 screening testing with Maverick Health for all schools within the district. Please see the attached information. And Mr. Johnson is available via phone. The superintendent recommends school board approval for participation in the Mississippi State Department of Health K through 12 school screening testing program, provider partnership for COVID-19 screening and testing with Maverick Health for all schools within the district.
Chair will entertain a motion to approve MSDH K through 12 screening testing program, provide a partnership for COVID-19 screening testing with Maverick Health for all schools within the district.
So moved.
It's been motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion is carried. Dr. Brown.
Page 81, approval to submit the ARP elementary and secondary school emergency relief 3 application. Dr. Pruitt.
ARP ESSER 3 provides LEAs with emergency relief funds to help safely reopen and sustain safe operation of schools and address the impact of the coronavirus pandemic on the nation's students. The district's allocation is $35,469,645 and will be used in the following areas: to address learning loss before, during, and after school, extended school, the purchase of additional Chromebooks, dual credit options, mental health/social, emotional, and professional development, to purchase additional buses, and to upgrade and replace HVAC systems and windows to improve air quality.
Question, Madam President. When is the deadline?
The end of the month. So, September 30th.
Dr. Pruitt, is that to have it obligated?
No, this is to submit the application for MDE approval.
Okay, that had.
No.
So how long do we have, is there a timeline when these funds have to be spent?
Okay, as they did with ESSER 1 and ESSER 2, and Ms. Washington, they have given us, for school districts, 2 years to spend that money from the time we receive it.
The superintendent recommends that the school board approve the submission of the ARP elementary and secondary school emergency relief ESSER 3 application to the Mississippi Department of Education.
Chair will entertain a motion to approve the submission of the ARP elementary and secondary ESSER 3 application to MDE.
So moved.
Second.
Been motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion is carried. Dr. Brown.
Pages 82 through 88. Approval of special education contractual services. Dr. Pruitt.
The Special Education Department provides related services to children with disabilities whose IEPs indicate the need for speech-related services. The related services allow the students to receive speech-language services. To ensure compliance and IEP implementation, these contractual services are being requested to be approved.
Question, Madam President.
Go ahead, Dr. Moore.
Dr. Cooley, that daily travel rate, is that the state rate? Look on page 84.
I'm not necessarily necessarily certain on if it's the state rate or not.
It may not be the state rate, but it's a very competitive rate. So what we've done is we've asked several contractors to submit bids, and we've accepted a comparable bid for what we're asking and what we're needing as a district. So from previous contracts, contractual services that's been approved by the board, this is a very competitive price for the district.
So can we go beyond the state rate?
We can, but because we're so large, we try to be financially sound and frugal because of the number of students that we have.
The superintendent recommends that the school board approve the contractual services regarding the rules and regulations of IDEA and for the implementation of IEPs as these items are required by the Office of Special Education.
Chair will entertain a motion to approve the contractual services regarding the rules and regs of IDEA and for the implementation of IEPs as these items are required by the Office of Special Education. The motion is second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, the motion is carried. Dr. Brown.
Page 89, psychometrist contractual service for gifted. Ms. Cole.
The Greenwood Leflore Consolidated School District is required by the state to conduct annual mass screening for gifted students. Students who pass the Raven or Raven 2 test or were referred by a teacher or parent must receive further testing before final placement. With this in mind, Ms. Bonnie Walker has agreed to, one, test our students and provide us with the written reports as required. The rate of pay for the aforementioned services is a very competitive rate of $150 per student. Upon approval, the aforementioned services will be between September of 2021 and June of 2022, and throughout the entire year for all students. We do not anticipate exceeding a budget of $5,000.
Go ahead.
Ms. Coleman, does the school,
Yes, ma'am.
employ its own psychometrist?
We have 2 psychometrists, and they are busy. So at this time, they are conducting tests and doing evaluations for the daycares. They're doing it for the health department. They're doing it for the 12 schools in the district. They're doing it for the JDC, and they're just overwhelmed and overbooked.
Dr. Brown.
The superintendent recommends school board approval of contractual services by Ms. Bonnie Walker and Rosemont Incorporated, licensed psychometrists for gifted testing.
Chair will entertain a motion to approve contractual service by Ms. Bonnie Walker and Rosemont Incorporated, licensed psychometrists for gifted testing. The motion is second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion is carried. Dr. Brown.
Approval of job description. The following job description is attached for a school crossing guard. The superintendent recommends school board approval of the above mentioned job description for the 2021-2022 school year.
Chair will entertain a motion to approve the above mentioned job description for 21-22.
So moved.
Motion is second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion is carried. Dr. Brown.
Page 93. Approval of lead teacher supplements, Dr. Puller.
The Special Education Department provides a supplement for lead teachers in the amount of $2,000 each to ensure paperwork and timelines are in compliance. There are 10 lead teachers. The lead teacher will also assist with MED, IEP, and reevaluation meetings. The lead teacher provides assistance to the team of special education teachers at their school. Having a lead teacher helps to govern the rules and regulations of IDEA and for the implementation of IEPs and services as these items are required by the Office of Special Education. To ensure compliance and IEP implementation, these supplements are being requested to be approved.
Dr. Brown.
The superintendent recommends that the school board approve the lead teacher supplement in the amount of $2,000 each, as this item is required by the Office of Special Education to ensure the rules and regulations of IDEA are carried out.
Chair will entertain a motion to approve the lead teacher supplement in the amount of $2,000 each, as the item is required by the Office of SPED to ensure the rules and regs of IDEA are carried out. Second, it's been motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion is carried. Dr. Brown.
Page 95, approval of homebound services. Dr. Pruitt.
The Special Education Department provides homebound services for students with disabilities whose IEPs indicate the need for homebound services. The homebound teacher instructor is paid $25 an hour. To ensure compliance and IEP implementation, these services are being requested to be approved.
Question, Madam
Go ahead, Doctor.
Are these teachers going into the home?
If it is requested by the parent. And so,
Home.
yes, ma'am. If we are, if the district, as we did in last year, if the district was 100% virtual, then the virtual option would be there. As of right now, we have 2 students. And if the parents requested, then we would have to.
What's the total number of, so give me a hypothetical amount of hours they would spend in the home?
Normally
is around
1 to 2 hours during the afternoon is after their regular work day.
Dr. Brown.
The superintendent recommends that the school board approve the homebound services regarding the rules and regulations of IDEA and for the implementation of IEPs and services, as these items are required by the Office of Special Education.
Chair will entertain a motion to approve the homebound services regarding the rules and regs of IDEA and for the implementation of IEPs and services, as these items are required by the Office of SPED. The motion is second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion is carried. Dr. Brown.
Pages 97 through 124. Life Help Business Agreement and Memorandum of Understanding. Ms. Coleman.
This business agreement and memorandum of understanding between Life Help and the Greenwood Leflore Consolidated School District is designed to provide students in Leflore County with social and emotional support while protecting the privacy and security of students' protected health information. Counseling and treatment for students occur at the Life Help Center, at students' homes, and at each school site. To provide a continuation of services, Life Help and Greenwood Leflore Consolidated School District work collaboratively to eliminate gaps of service for students by providing day treatment.
Dr. Brown.
The superintendent recommends school board approval of the 2021-2022 business agreement and memorandum of understanding with Life Help to provide social and emotional support to students.
Chair will entertain a motion to approve the 21-22 business agreement and MOU with Life Help to provide social and emotional support to students.
So moved.
Motion is second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion is carried. Dr. Brown.
Page 125 through 130, Youth Villages Memorandum of Understanding. Ms. Coleman.
This memorandum of understanding between Youth Villages and the Greenwood Leflore Consolidated School District is designed to provide students attending Claudine Brown Elementary, Leflore County Elementary, East Elementary, and Davis Elementary schools with social and emotional support. Counseling and treatment for students occur at Youth Villages home office, at students' homes, and at various school sites. To provide a continuation of services, Youth Villages and the district work collaboratively to eliminate gaps of service. What we've identified is that the services that we're requiring and what we need, we didn't adequately able to fill with just Life Help. We needed more help. So now we have 2 partnerships, one with Life Help and Youth Villages, to help us deal with the number of students who are now requiring these services.
Dr. Brown.
The superintendent recommends school board approval of the 2021-2022 Memorandum of Understanding with Youth Villages to provide social and emotional support to students.
Chair will entertain a motion to approve the 21-22 MOU with Youth Villages to provide social and emotional support to students.
So moved.
It's been motion and second, all in favor? Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion is carried. Dr. Brown.
Pages 131 through 133, request for out-of-state travel. Ms. Cole.
We are proud to announce that the Greenwood Leflore Consolidated School District is one of only 2 districts in the state to be recognized by Imagine Learning for the academic progress of our English language learners. Imagine Learning is the name of the program, and what it does is it gradually releases students from their native language to English. We were able to improve scores in the areas of reading, writing, speaking, and other skills in hopes of becoming more proficient in reading and achieving academic success. Students within our district achieved a 72% growth rate doing virtual learning using Imagine Learning, and Imagine Learning's goal was 75%, so we're just 3 points away from their goal. The Student Support and School Improvement Department plans to increase the number of students participating in Imagine Learning as an intervention with students struggling with language acquisition. Mary Johnson, Student Support Specialist, and myself have been invited to attend a professional development and networking session at Imagine Learning's Partnership Forum on September 29th through October 1st in Utah. Imagine Learning will pay for the plane flights, hotel rooms in Utah, and the registrations for the forum.
Dr. Brown.
The superintendent recommends school board approval of the out-of-state travel for Mrs. Mary Johnson and Ms. Lakeisha Coleman to participate in Imagine Learning's Partnership Forum on September 29, 2021 through October 1st, 2021 in Utah.
Chair will entertain a motion to approve the out-of-state travel for Mary Johnson and Lakeisha Coleman to participate in Imagine Learning Partnership Forum on September 29th through October 1st, 2021 in Utah. It's been motion and second, all in favor? Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion is carried. Dr. Brown.
Pages 134 through 136, approval of dual enrollment memorandum of understanding with Mississippi Valley State University. Dr. Pruitt.
The school district and Mississippi Valley State University have agreed upon the conditions of this memorandum of understanding to begin dual enrollment for all eligible high school students. This partnership would provide dual enrollment opportunity for high school students.
Chair will entertain a motion to approve the MOU with MVSU to provide dual enrollment opportunities for high school students. It's been motion and second, all in favor? Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion is carried. Dr. Brown.
Pages 137 through 139. Approval of dual enrollment memorandum of understanding with Mississippi Delta Community College. Dr. Pruitt.
The school district and Mississippi Delta Community College have agreed upon the conditions of this memorandum of understanding to begin dual enrollment for all eligible high school students. This partnership would provide dual enrollment opportunities for high school students.
The superintendent recommends approval of the memorandum of understanding with Mississippi Delta Community College to provide dual enrollment opportunities for high school students.
Chair will entertain a motion to approve the MOU with Mississippi Delta Community College to provide dual enrollment opportunities for high school students.
So moved. Second.
Motion is second, all in favor? Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion is carried. Dr. Brown.
Pages 140 through 152. 2021-2022 District Test Security Plan. Dr. Cook.
As part of the Mississippi Public School Accountability Standards 2020, each school district shall prepare a district test security plan which contains all essential components as required by the Office of Student Assessment. The purpose of this plan is to establish procedures that protect the security and integrity of all tests administered through the Mississippi Statewide Assessment System. This plan shall be signed by the President of the School Board, the Superintendent, and the District Test Coordinator.
The superintendent recommends that the school board approve the 2021-2022 test security plan for the Greenwood Leflore Consolidated School District.
Chair will entertain a motion to approve the 21-22 test security plan for GLCSD. Motion is second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion is carried. Dr. Brown.
Pages 153 through 156. Approval to accept proposals submitted for curriculum software for instruction, remediation, and enrichment in K-12.
The Greenwood Leflore Consolidated School District solicited proposals from companies to provide software related to curriculum, instruction, remediation, and enrichment to enhance learning for all students. The district received one bid. This bid met the qualifications of the request for proposals. Therefore, we are requesting approval to accept the proposal submitted from Grade Results. See attached. Also, I know at our work session, you are requested, a little bit more information. And if you look down at the purple part on that first page, all of those things in that bulleted list, this particular vendor provides, but what it also does is it prevents us from having to purchase a program for each one of these things. That, to be perfectly honest, that's what we were doing.
I don't see anything purple. What page is it on?
The separate, yes, sir.
Okay.
So you see down in the purple part, for example, credit recovery. We were purchasing another program for that. ACT, we were purchasing another program. So we had some conversations, since this RFP with other school districts that may have utilized and they've had good results with it. So we're hoping that we will have the same.
Dr. Brown.
The superintendent recommends approval to accept the proposal submitted from Grade Results for curriculum software for instruction, remediation, and enrichment K-12 in the amount of $249,000.
And Dr. Fuller, you did say it was only one person that,
Yes, ma'am.
okay. Chair will entertain a motion to accept the proposal submitted from Grade Results for curriculum software for instruction, remediation, and enrichment K-12 in the amount of $249,000.
So moved.
Second.
It's been motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion is carried. Dr. Brown.
Pages 157 through 168. Approval of request for proposals for professional development services, ELA curriculum and content instructional strategies. Dr. Cook.
The Greenwood Leflore Consolidated School District is soliciting proposals from consulting firms to provide services in the subject of ELA related to job-embedded professional development, instructional coaching, lesson planning and pacing, technology integration, acceleration, and enrichment for the term of 2021-2022 school year. Consultants will provide services during this school year in elementary and secondary schools to support teachers and students through modeling, analyzing data, observations with actionable feedback, and instructional delivery infused with differentiated instruction.
Dr. Brown.
The superintendent recommends approval of the request for proposals for professional development services, ELA curriculum and content instructional strategy.
Chair will entertain a motion to approve the request for proposals for professional development services, ELA curriculum and content instructional strategy.
Question, Madam President.
Go ahead, Dr. Bailey.
Would this go against our earlier vote?
No,
Of the higher three?
we said that, consultants.
This is a consultant, right? No?
No, I said they were not excluded.
Okay, okay, all right. Thank you for the clarification.
Chair will entertain a motion. It's been motioned and second, all in favor? Any opposed?
Nay.
Ayes have it, motion is carried. Let the record show Dr. Kalania Moore voting nay. Dr. Brown.
Pages 169 through 181, approval of request for proposals for professional development services, math curriculum and content instructional strategies.
The Greenwood Leflore Consolidated School District is soliciting proposals from consulting firms to provide services in the subject of math related to job embedded professional development, instructional coaching, lesson planning and pacing, technology integration, acceleration, and enrichment for the term of 2021-2022 school year. Consultants would provide services during the school year in elementary and secondary schools to support teachers and students through modeling, analyzing data, observations with actionable feedback, and instructional delivery infused with differentiated instruction.
So Dr. Fuller, I'm looking at all these dates on page. Let me see, okay. It was dates with different things would do. I'm trying to.
Yes, ma'am. 174 is one of them.
Okay, yeah, the time frame on page 174. So we won't see it until September 29th.
Right.
Okay.
Yes, it would be after the committee has reviewed all of those presented.
But at that time, would the board be able to see all the vendors that reached out?
Yes, you definitely know the list.
On each consultant, on these RFPs, the board is requesting that we see everybody who is in the pool.
Sure.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Brown.
The superintendent recommends approval of the request for proposals for professional development services, math curriculum and content instructional strategy.
Chair will entertain a motion to approve the request for proposals for professional development services, math curriculum and content instructional strategy. Second, it's been motioned second, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion is carried. Let the record show Dr. Kalane Moore voting nay. And Dr. Fuller, that's on each, all RFPs, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Dr. Brown.
Pages 182 through 192. Approval of request for proposals for professional development services, science curriculum and content instructional strategies.
The Greenwood Leflore Consolidated School District is soliciting proposals from consulting firms to provide services in the subject of science related to job-embedded professional development, instructional coaching, lesson planning and pacing, technology integration, acceleration, and enrichment for the term of 2021-2022 school year. Consultants would provide services during the school year in elementary and secondary schools to support teachers and students through modeling, analyzing data, observations with actionable feedback, and instructional delivery infused with differentiated instruction.
The superintendent recommends approval of the request for proposals for professional development services, science curriculum and content instructional strategy.
Chair will entertain a motion to approve the request for proposals for professional development services, science curriculum, and content instructional strategy. Second, it's been moved and second, all in favor? Any opposed?
Nay.
Ayes have it, motion is carried. Let the record show that Dr. Kalanya Moore voting nay. Dr. Brown.
Pages 194 through 205. Approval of requests for proposals for professional development services, history, curriculum, and content instructional strategy.
The Greenwood Leflore Consolidated School District is soliciting proposals from consulting firms to provide services in the subject of history related to job-related professional development, instructional coaching, lesson planning and pacing, technology integration, acceleration, and enrichment for the term of 2021-2022 school year. Consultants would provide services during the school year in elementary and secondary schools to support teachers and students through modeling, analyzing data, observations with actionable feedback, and instructional delivery infused with differentiated instruction.
The superintendent recommends approval of the request for proposals for professional development services, history, curriculum, and content instructional strategy.
Chair will entertain a motion to approve the request for proposals for professional development services, history, curriculum, and content instructional strategies.
So moved.
Motion is second, all in favor? Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion is carried. Let the record show Dr. Kalanya Moore voting nay. Dr. Brown.
Pages 206 through 215. The 2021-2022 revised classified salary scale. Attached is the district's revised 2021-2022 classified staff salary scale. All employees that will be affected with a decrease will be grandfathered in at their current salary this year and beyond, and until they receive a raise on the salary scale.
Dr. Brown, could you please tell me, when did we approve of cutoff dates for 21-22?
When did we approve?
Mm-hmm.
We don't have it. We have the list, but the bring the.
No, I'm talking about the cutoff dates for when employees get paid. You know, every year we have to, the board has to approve of cutoff dates. So I want to know for 21-22, when do we do that?
Okay, so we do have, Ms. Washington has submitted that, it's the cutoff dates page. We'll submit that on the board doc. Okay, that was just for transportation. So we'll get the cutoff dates for everybody and then submit it to the board for approval.
Okay, I do know that they are supposed to be online, so I didn't know if you didn't receive them, but,
No, ma'am, the board annually, approve of cutoff dates for payroll.
okay. Well, I'll check with Mr. Johnson then.
Okay. Can y'all do that ASAP? Dr. Brown.
The superintendent recommends school board approval of the revised 2021-2022 classified staff salary scale. All employees that will be affected with a decrease will be grandfathered in at their current salary this year and beyond, and until they will receive a raise on the salary scale.
Chair, one time.
Question, Madam President.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Dr. Moore.
Dr. Brown, has this already gone for?
It did, I think it was tabled at that time, and it was tabled because of a position, that we didn't, well, it was tabled because of a position and a job description for the business office.
Madam President, I would recommend that we table it again.
In this time, I'm just asking for clarification.
You know, we keep going back to the same stuff, these same issues. And if there's something else we need to discuss, and regarding classified salary scale, which I thought we had already cleared that up.
I think it was clear, it was just the addition of one position. But once this is approved, I think Dr. Miller would need it to, again, go back and revise, because he's actually operating from the salary scale that we had. So this was tabled. So he's not able to move forward with, any additional at-wills because we were waiting on this.
Dr. Miller, can you expound on that?
There is there are a couple of positions that were omitted from the group of salary scales that we had that were submitted the last time, and I think those were just included on this packet. They were
Okay.
omitted.
That's all the difference.
Yes, that's the only difference.
So board members, do we move forward or do we table that one? Dr. Brown?
The superintendent recommends school board approval of the revised 2021-2022 classified staff salary scale. All employees that will be affected with a decrease will be grandfathered in at their current salary this year and beyond, and until they receive a raise on the salary scale.
Chair will entertain a motion to approve the revised 21-22 classified staff salary scale. All employees that will be affected with a decrease will be grandfathered in at their current salary this year and beyond, and until they receive a raise on the salary scale.
So moved.
It's been motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion is carried. Dr. Brown, I have one question. Want to know that any employee being moved into a new position with a new job title or additional pay has to be approved by the board, and just want to make sure that no one has been moved to a different position with a different pay that the board has not approved.
To my knowledge, no one has been moved to a different position that has not been board approved.
Okay, and I'm saying that has additional pay. I want to make sure.
To my knowledge, no ma'am.
Okay, okay, Dr. Brown.
Pages 216 through 466, monthly financial reports, Mrs. Washington.
Good afternoon, board. Afternoon. Before you have the monthly financial reports, attached you have the cash balance, fund balance, budget status report, the cash flow statements, bank reconciliation reports, and the claim docket for the month of September. Expenditures to date are within your budget amounts. Cash balances on hand are sufficient to cover immediate and current projected expenses. And in addition to what you have on your form, we're trying to add the invoice for the attorney that we did not receive in time before we sent the claim docket out.
You say we want to include?
Yes.
So, Ms. Washington, I want to ask a question, like on page 370, Dr. Brown. So, is there any kind of way maybe you can pencil in or a date? So like, look at the last two claims, 949,007 and 949,008. They have the same amount, and I mean, I'm sure I know it's for a meal, but can you just give us dates so that we can know, you know, because if this is football, would they be having games like back to back?
That is for the season. So it's not really games back to back, it's the season. They go ahead and submit, Mr. Gatewood submits the list based on the games that they're supposed to attend. So they go ahead and do the pregame meals.
What happens, like, with some teams who have been postponed due to COVID, what happens in that instance?
Well, those are checks and they're individually cut. by the team.
Mhm.
So if they don't go, then we keep the check. So if something happens, they don't postpone and redo the game, then we will void the check.
So, okay. Any other questions, board members? What was that last page, Dr. Brown?
The last page, I believe, is 466.
Okay, let the record show that, Ms. Jackie Lewis is recusing herself. Dr. Brown?
The superintendent recommends that the school board approve the July financial reports, the payment of claims 948939 through 949254, and the attorney's invoice, which is included in the board edition.
So board, how do we wanna proceed, because we made a motion earlier to say not to include board additions, so how do we proceed, Attorney Fuller?
You can leave it where it is, or you can, if you want to add it, or you could, all the additions, you could approve it or let a special call meeting.
So, Dr. Brown, because we did that at the beginning, sorry, Ms. Washington, we would leave that out.
Okay.
All right, Dr. Brown, you
The
already
sup-
read.
Okay.
You already read. So, Chair will entertain a motion to approve the July financial reports and the payment of claims 948939 through 949254. It's been motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion is carried. Dr. Brown?
Pages 467 through 490. Consent agenda. Attached are items on the consent agenda, which includes the minutes of work session on Wednesday, July 28th of 2021, the minutes of the regular board meeting of Tuesday, August 3rd, 2021, the minutes of special call board meeting of Friday, August 6th, 2021, the minutes of special call board meeting of Monday, August 16th, 2021, and the minutes of work session of Wednesday, August 25th of 2021.
Okay, Dr. Brown.
The superintendent recommends approval of the consent agenda.
Chair will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So move.
It's been motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion is carried. Dr. Brown?
Pages 491 through 498. Approval of personnel recommendations. Attached is a list of district personnel which requires board approval.
So, Dr. Brown, on page 493, on the central office, what's the person I thought they already was here? On page 493, the very first one.
What was your question, Ms.
I thought they were already employed.
She's being moved over to the maintenance department as a secretary. And that does affect her days as well.
So how fast are we gonna get these, SSO, replaced? Or do you know?
I believe Mr. Brown already has somebody just ready to go.
Okay, all right.
The superintendent recommends school board approval of the 2021-2022 personnel list on the attached pages.
Chair will entertain a motion to approve the 21-22 personnel list on the attached sheet.
So
Second.
It's been motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion is carried. At this time, Chair will entertain a motion to close this meeting for consideration of executive session.
So moved.
It's been motion and second, all in favor? Any opposed? Ayes